Superman is a character that needs no introduction. The Man of Steel has endured since the early 1940s and has garnered extreme popularity across the entire globe. Ever since his inception, he's been through decades of changes and has shaped the entire comic book industry. He is the quintessential superhero. Everyone knows who Superman is, and he deserves all of the credit that comes with his legendary legacy. He might just be one of the most recognizable pop culture icons in all of human history. Yada yada yada, whatever, we already know this. Look, I'm not here to talk about this today. What I want to talk about is the issues I got with everyone. I need people to start respecting Superman right now. If I see another person on the internet that says Superman is boring, we're going to have to start boxing.
Fight back, nigga! Fight back, nigga! Fight back!
And I don't care, I will fight everyone if I have to.
I can't feel my legs.
Great.
Supes is the most iconic comic book character ever, and the amount of slander and disrespect I see online is absolutely insane. And it all boils down to 3 words. Superman is boring. I am here to tell y'all right now that if you think Superman is boring, you don't know Superman. Now look, it's fair to have that opinion because everyone has different characters that they like and dislike, of course. It is what it is. But most of the time when you ask people the reason why they think Supes is boring, they'll just spout information that's just straight up wrong. You know, the most common thing I see is people say he's too overpowered, or he has no room for character growth because of his Boy Scout personality. And to everyone who thinks that's true, I need to ask you a very important question. Have you ever read a Superman comic? Even just one issue of any Superman comic disproves that nonsense. To all the people that say Superman is too overpowered, bro, if you literally read any Superman story, most of the time he be getting his ass whooped. It's so funny because Superman is not as invincible as people think he is. He gets his ass beat on a regular, so anyone who says he's unbeatable, please, I need you to pipe down immediately. Now, as for his Boy Scout mentality, it's a simple personality trait that when written well can be some of the best stories in comics, and at worst it can be just a little mundane. The best thing about Clark's personality is that he always tries to find a way to save everyone, and he always shows you how you can be a better human. And the reason why people don't like this is because Superman always saving the day sounds way too good to be true. Superman always saving the day isn't a bad thing. You want to know why? Because it always comes after he faces and overcomes a challenge or a threat. Saving the day is earned, not given. There are no free wins. You know, this idea that Clark has to find a way to overcome threat after threat that increasingly get more and more difficult, while also trying to find a way where no innocent people get harmed, is actually very interesting in and of itself. The point of Superman is that he's always going to give his all. Now, does he win all the time? No, of course he doesn't. Sometimes he doesn't get to save everyone, and he knows this himself. But the point is that he has to try to anyways. Superman is just a guy who cares. He can do almost anything he wants, and he actively chooses to use his powers to do the right thing. You know, great power, great responsibility. Sorry, wrong character. But anyways, Superman is just a guy like the rest of us. Okay, now imagine this. You're a regular guy like the rest of us, and all of a sudden you can defy the laws of physics. You have super strength, speed, agility, flight, etc. You can do whatever you want. So what would you do? I can imagine most people would just do whatever the hell they want, like robbing banks, killing their boss, or just generally bad things. Now, what does Superman choose to do? I don't even have to answer the question because you guys already know the answer.
And you know this, man?
The Big Blue Boy Scout shows us that power doesn't always corrupt people. Even just looking beyond Superman himself, I really don't understand why people think he's boring when he has such a great cast of supporting characters and villains. Character mainstays like Ma and Pa Kent, Jimmy Olsen, Supergirl, Superboy, and Lois Lane do a great job of building the foundation of Clark Kent's character. They all kind of, explore different sides of Soup's own morals, dreams, hopes, expectations, and even flaws. Everything Soups does is all owed to his parents. They put him on the path of truth, justice, and the American way. Supergirl and Superboy allow Clark to explore his own Kryptonian origins, which are cool in and of itself. Lois Lane, of course, brings Clark happiness and love into his life.
I'm confused, Kent. See, I've lived in Metropolis most of my life, and I can't figure out how some yokel from Smallville is suddenly getting every hot story in town.
Well, Lois, the truth is, I'm actually Superman in disguise, and I only pretend to be a journalist in order to hear about disasters as they happen and then squeeze you out of the byline.
You're a sick man, Kent.
You asked.
Lex Luthor is easily one of the greatest villains of all time. Most of the time, he's not an all-powerful being that wants to best Superman in strength. He's a suit that wants to bring Superman down through political means and constantly tries to gain complete control over Metropolis. Lex Luthor shows the side of humanity that Superman is afraid of: contempt and rejection. General Zod represents that Kryptonian heritage that I was talking about a little bit earlier, except he represents the negative aspects of Krypton. Even someone as silly as Bizarro adds color and humor to the world of Superman, while simultaneously being a major threat. And all of these characters that I just mentioned build such a creative and interesting world for Superman. It really begs the question of why do people have these thoughts about Superman? Why do they think he's so boring? I think it all comes down to the modern live action movies. Look, I think most of us can agree that the movies are just straight buns. The reason why people think Superman is boring is because they went into these movie theaters excited to watch something that probably piqued their interest, and all they got was a movie that tried to make Clark into a stoic, indestructible space Jesus who has beef with Batman because their mothers share the same first name. Honestly, these movies have done such a good job of giving everyone this Superman is boring brain rot and destroying the reputation that Superman had that you honestly have to give them credit. Nowadays, people only see the modern movie version when they think of Superman. And if they ended up watching these movies and thinking that they found the character to be boring, they don't really try to dig any deeper, which turns into these misguided comments about Superman. I'm really hoping that with a new wave of DC movies coming soon, that we'll see a somewhat comic accurate version of the character this time. Everything we've heard about the movies so far has been good news, and with the recent success of James Gunn's Guardians 3 movie, I have high hopes for Superman Legacy.
But wait! There's more!
We also have to give a shiny award to Injustice for giving us the most ass version of Soups, while also at the same time being an ass fighting game. Superman becomes boring when he turns to villainy for the most dog water reasons, like in Injustice. I can understand why he murdered the Joker, but I don't see why he should enslave and control the Earth. It really doesn't make any sense. It's just so out of character for a person like Superman. If anything, an actual scenario I could see happening is Superman killing the Joker and realizing what he did was wrong, even if the Joker did something as horrendous as murdering Clark's pregnant wife. It's just a really strange way to take the character. It mostly just feels like an excuse so Superman can just go batshit crazy and kill everyone. Now, it's not all doom and gloom, Injustice Superman aside. There are good versions of an evil Superman like the Justice Lord Superman from the animated series, or Ultraman from the comics for what it's worth. Those versions of an evil twisted supes are great because they don't overextend their stay in the story. Eventually we get to go back to the status quo because Superman at his core is supposed to be the good guy. Honestly, if you want to experience evil Superman, then just go watch The Boys or just go watch Invincible. At least the characters in those series do an actual good job of portraying Superman-esque characters that have their own kind of twisted morals. Homelander and Omni-Man have been talked about enough, so I won't say anything about them, but if you haven't experienced those stories, I would highly recommend them. I've pretty much said all I've wanted to say, so instead of ending this video in a shitty way, I'd like to invite anyone that thinks Superman is boring to read some of the comics. There are so many to read, so I'll just recommend my personal favorite Superman story, Superman's Secret Identity. It's an amazing story that breaks down all of the character facets of Superman, why he does what he does, and in the most enjoyable ways possible. It's only 4 issues long, so it's super easy to read, and I'd like to thank everyone for giving this video a watch. Please like and subscribe, and thank you.